Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Stefan Blomberg and I'm a doctor in psychology as well as a licensed psychologist from Linköping University in Sweden. I will now give you a presentation with the title Beware of Non-Supportive Leaders, the moderating effects of supportive leadership on the risk and effects of workplace bullying. And this is actually my thesis that I defended in December 2022, about 18 months ago. So in the next approximately 15 minutes, I will walk you through my whole thesis. And hopefully I will not get caught in all the details and nuances, but can give you the overall message of my thesis. First, the thesis is based on 3 cohorts: a governmental institution, a municipality, and a private company, all with 3 data waves and collected in the period of 2015 to 2020. The exact time frame differed a bit between the 3 cohorts, but in general, it was about 18 to 20 months between the data collections. Totally, the data collection was carried out for about 3.5 years at each organization. The thesis is also based on 3 papers that are now published. The first one has the title Exposure to Bullying Behaviors and Support from Coworkers and Supervisors, a 3-way interaction and the effect on health and well-being. This paper was based on the first cohort and the first data collection wave, making it a cross-sectional study with almost 1,400 participants. The second paper has the title When Do Poor Health Increase the Risk of Subsequent Workplace Bullying? The Dangers of Low or Absent Leadership Support. This paper was also based on the first cohort, but on the first 2 data collection waves, making it a longitudinal study with almost 1,000 participants. The third paper has the title Role Ambiguity as an Antecedent to Workplace Bullying, Hostile Work Climate and Supportive Leadership as Intermediate Factors. This paper was based on all 3 cohorts and all 3 data waves, making it a longitudinal study over about 3.5 years with a little bit more than 1,000 participants. Now, here you can see the 3 different papers combined in the statistical model, step by step. Here, the first article, the second, and the third, or 3 articles together. In the model, every arrow represents a specific hypothesis, and all the hypotheses are presented beside the model. As you see, supportive leadership is a key concept here, as well as workplace bullying. And at the top, as well as at the bottom, there are predictors or risk factors for workplace bullying that are investigated in the thesis. But the central theme is how these effects are affected by the level of leadership support. I will not walk you through all these hypotheses, as that would take a lot of time. But here on the next slide, you can see the combined results of the 3 studies. And as you may see, almost all of the hypotheses were supported in one way or another. But instead of diving into all the details in this statistical model, I will instead turn to a theoretical and more pedagogical model, as you can see on this next slide. It can be described as a circular and risk and escalation model. And I will now present all the results in this model. On the top, you see the predictor on an organizational level, and that is ambiguous roles, which is a well-known and well-investigated predictor of workplace bullying. On the bottom in the model, I introduce an individual risk factor that we all may experience, at least at some time in our lives, the level of health, or as it says here, the level of poor health. Both predictors may lead to workplace bullying, and workplace bullying may also, as we already know, negatively affect the health level. So in theory, ambiguous roles may lead to bullying, which negatively affect health, that in turn increase the risk of being exposed to bullying, making it a negative circular model. In the upper left corner in the model, you also see dashed arrows. That part of the model I did not investigate in my thesis. So those dashed arrows represent suggestions and hypothesized effects based on others' research and theory. Now some words about what a supportive leadership style is. First, in Swedish language, we really do not differentiate between leaders and managers, but what I mean here, basically, managers or bosses is the position you have and leadership is what you do. So, the supportive leadership style is, according to theory, about showing acceptance, positive regard. It is about listening, caring, and providing help. It is about bolstering confidence and self-esteem, and also acting in a trustworthy way and providing good examples in the way you act and behave as a leader. Theory says that such leadership behavior is building and maintaining effective interpersonal relationships at work. And to understand this effect, we can turn to social learning theory that says that having a leadership position means that you are a role model due to the status, influence, and power associated with that position. And as role models, managers provide norms and guides of action through their leadership style. Then we have the concept of role ambiguity, which I have mentioned before. And here I would like to cite Saline and Hoel, who states the following. Bullying seems to thrive where employees perceive contradictory expectations, demands, and values in their jobs, and where expectations are perceived as unclear and unpredictable. And then we have health, which is used as an outcome, but also as an individual risk factor. And when used as a risk factor, it includes not only poor mental health, but also physical aspects of poor health. Finally, I also use the concept of hostile work climate. And organizational affective climates are about shared perceptions and expectations concerning how to act, behave, and react based on values, procedures, practices, and so on. A hostile work climate is characterized by aggressive and deviant behaviors, as well as of low trust. And according to theory, behind a hostile work climate, there are usually organizational structures of ambiguity, making it difficult to know how to perform or behave, which may lead to interpersonal tensions, conflicts, and deviant behavior. So, what did I find? Well, a clear finding is that bad is probably stronger than good. That is, the effect of low levels of supportive leadership style has a stronger negative effect than the positive effect of high levels. So, non-supportive leadership seems to be destructive in several ways. First, there is a direct association between non-supportive leadership and high levels of workplace bullying, as well as with poor health. And when I also include the interactions, the interaction effects of non-supportive leadership, we probably open the gates of destruction. What we see here is that role ambiguity is a long-term predictor of workplace bullying mediated by a hostile work climate, but that effect is strongly amplified by a non-supportive leadership. And there is also a long-term effect of poor health, including poor physical health, on workplace bullying, meaning that poor health is a long-term risk factor of workplace bullying. And this effect is also strongly amplified by a non-supportive leadership. The effect of workplace bullying on health is well known, but a non-supportive leadership seems to make bullying more health toxic in blocking out the buffering effect of co-worker support. I do not go into the details of that, but for the interested, it is described in the first article. And as I said before, the dashed arrows on the top left corner is suggested effects based on others' research as well as on theory. But altogether, the destructive effect seems to be very clear. But this is not the end of the story or the full story. If the level of supportive leadership style is just around the mean, the picture is starting to change totally. The exact level of a supportive leadership style that is needed differ a bit between the different interactions, but most often it is enough if the leader support is just okay. So the manager doesn't have to be a world champion in supportive leadership style. Just not being bad is often good enough. Here, you actually see my whole thesis in only one picture. All the results are here, as well as how different parts interact with each other. What happens when we have a reasonable leadership support is that the risk factor of role ambiguity mediated by a hostile work climate or workplace bullying is completely blocked away. And the same happens for the risk of poor health. That risk factor also disappears completely. For the negative health effect of workplace bullying, there is, however, not such strong blocking effect, but there is still a mitigating effect. And in addition, a supportive leadership style is directly associated with lower levels of workplace bullying, as well as with better health. To check these results, I also did some sensitivity analysis, as you see down at the bottom of this slide. First, I excluded all managers that in one way or another were accused of being bullies. I also adjusted supportive leadership for the levels of active and passivity, thereby checking that the effects were not due to laissez-faire leadership. All results were still significant even when performing these sensitivity analysis. This indicates robust findings. Some strengths and limitations. It was quite large samples, but still not representative and only based on people from Sweden. It is a strength with mostly longitudinal designs, but the measure of hostile work climate was, however, not analyzed on a group level, which probably would have been better. So this measure is now about individual perceptions of the organizational affective climate. Finally, some conclusions. A supportive leadership probably functions as a gatekeeper for other risk factors, both on an organizational level and on an individual level, and having directly effects on both the levels of workplace bullying and the health among the employees. A non-supportive leadership style is really dangerous, both for organizations, but also for the employees. So beware of unsupportive leaders. Thank you for listening.